Hi there, my name is Nick Sutton and I'm delighted to have been offered my second ACC film to direct. The title of this programme is Diabetes, Managing Complications and Medications, and it's a programme we're going to make for the UK and Australia. So we will be factoring in time in our production schedule to record specific VO and graphics for each country. It's a programme that is aimed at both care centre and home setting, so we will be filming in both locations. Also, it's an advanced level programme, so we are assuming a basic medical knowledge. Now, I have a personal interest in this subject matter. My mother was a diabetic. She was a diabetic from when she was a very young girl, so as her son growing up, I saw her in a number of situations. I saw her have comas, I saw her injecting herself, and I saw her trying to manage her diet and her lifestyle. So, what are the learning outcomes for this programme? Firstly, identify complications that can occur when a person has diabetes. 2. Explain how to respond to managing complications. 3. Recognise the role of medication in managing the condition. The overall message is, diabetes is manageable with a combination of lifestyle approaches and medication. Now, what elements are we going to use? Well, we've decided on a number: dramatisation, instruction, graphics, and presenter-led. Now, I'm aware that ACC is trying to reduce the length of the videos, and I think that's a great idea. And in light of the trend nowadays is to deliver content in a variety of formats, we thought that it would be appropriate and relevant to this programme if we delivered it in 3 separate chapters. So you will be able to watch the film in its entirety, approximately 20 to 22 minutes, but you'll also be able to watch each section, each chapter as we're calling them, in bite-sized learning tools of about 7 to 8 minutes each. And each chapter will deal with one of the main issues. So chapter 1 will be short-term complications, chapter 2 long-term complications, and chapter 3 medication. So engaging emotionally with the subject matter is something that I want to put into this programme specifically. And the way I want to do this is by employing an actor and an actress to play diabetic patients or diabetic residents of the care home. And I think that if we give them a simple backstory and a simple dramatic arc through each chapter, we'll find that easier to engage with. And I think this really helps when we're dealing with the subject matter, because it's about recognising changes in people's mood, maybe in their habits, and these things are often indicators that someone is, in diabetic difficulty and needs help. So we'll be using some dramatisation and voiceover to guide us through. We'll also be using instruction. So in this case, we'd like to use a real nurse to help us guide us through various scenarios and situations. I think this will become more relevant in the 3rd chapter with medications. Of course, we will also be using animated on-screen text and bullet points to get across key messages and remind the viewer of the learning outcomes. Our expert is a guy called Dan Howarth. Now, he's head of Diabetes UK, so he's a very, very experienced and knowledgeable person to have on board. It's great to have him on our team. He's also quite experienced because he's travelled the world a lot. So he's also has experience of working in New Zealand, in Australia and in Europe. And I think those years working abroad are going to be very, very useful. So what is the hook in this? How are we going to engage people and how are we going to grab their attention? Well, as I was saying earlier, the difference between what's going on inside someone's body and possibly how that is reflected on the outside with mood swings or changes in the skin tone. This is very important when recognising and managing the complications in diabetes. So we want to work with that. So we're going to start with a very graphic and full-on animated attention-grabbing sequence. It follows, we're going to be inside the body. It's going to follow blood moving around the body, pumping through the veins, pumping through the heart. And we're going to see globules colliding against the artery walls. and these globules then will start to visibly damage the arteries. And it's this point that the voiceover reminds us that blood carries oxygen and nutrients, and that the body's organs store and convert these nutrients to maintain the balance for vital health. But sometimes the body is unable to maintain that balance, and that can produce both short and long-term effects, long-term damage. So we're going to be going right inside the body, seeing the heart, seeing the veins, seeing the globules attaching themselves and damaging, and then we're going to pull out onto a piece of skin, and as we zoom out from that skin, we're going to find ourselves in our daycare centre with one of our actors. So we're sort of trying to travel from inside the body out. And we'll try to repeat that as a sort of motif of going in and out of the body. And we'll try and include that at the beginning of every chapter. Our expert then introduces themselves and gives us a very brief statistical overview of diabetes in the UK and Australia, and reminds us that this course is about learning how to support people to manage issues that can arise through diabetes. So like I said, each chapter will deal with a specific topic. Firstly, short-term complications. There are 3 specific complications we will look at: hypoglycemia, hypoglycemia, hyposmolar hypoglycemic state, HHS, and ketoacidosis, DKA. So here we are focusing on an immediate problem or potential problem that could cause a hypo or a coma. The second film looks at the long-term conditions. And here it's about diabetes-related health issues that can develop over time. So issues that can arise that can be signs or symptoms of diabetes are heart problems, kidney damage, often problems with the feet or podiatry issues are indicators of possible diabetes. The third film deals with the role of medication. And this is where the nurse will really come into her own. She'll be there to remind us about the types of insulin: rapid, short, intermediate, long-acting. But the important thing from each chapter is that each chapter will end with a positive interaction between the nurse and one of the actors or the actress, illustrating that they are working together as a team to manage diabetes. This idea of going from the inside to the outside is a recurring theme throughout the film, and I think it's an important one because it's trying to get to recognise that sugar levels and fat levels and insulin levels within the body, those changes which we can't see, are potentially visible on the outside. So there are a number of ways of recognising through externally what can be going on internally. The message that we want to get across in this film is that it's your knowledge, your skill and your care that ensures that a person who has diabetes carries on living a full and fulfilling life.